The road didn't have a sign, no number, no destination, just asphalt cutting through dense forest. A man named Thomas found it while trying to avoid traffic late at night. His GPS froze, his radio went silent, and then the fog appeared. Out of the fog came lights, street lights, perfectly aligned, leading into a town that wasn't supposed to be there. The town looked normal at first, small houses, closed shops, a diner with lights still on, but something felt delayed. The wind moved a second too late, sounds echoed longer than they should, and the people, they smiled too slowly. When Thomas asked where he was, a woman behind the counter answered, "You arrived early." He never asked early for what. As the night passed, Thomas noticed something disturbing. No one slept. Clocks existed, but none of them moved. And there were rules, written on a board in the town square. Do not ask about the outside. Do not stay after sunrise. Do not remind us. Remind them of what? An old man finally spoke. He told Thomas the town had a name once. It had schools, birth records, cemeteries. Until something happened. Something the outside world decided was easier to erase than to explain. The town was removed from maps, from databases, from memory. But people don't disappear so easily. So they stayed, trapped between being remembered and being gone. When sunrise approached, the town changed. Buildings flickered, faces blurred. The people became desperate. They begged Thomas to remember their names, to speak them aloud, to take proof back with him. Because when no one remembers you, you start to fade. Thomas ran. The fog swallowed the streets. The town screamed, not in pain, but in fear. He reached his car just as the sun rose. The road vanished behind him. Then, a moment of silence. Then, soft, haunting music. Thomas made it home, but something followed him. He dreams of streets with no names. He hears voices asking to be remembered. And sometimes, when he wakes up, he knows names he never learned. So if one night you take a wrong turn and find a town that feels unfinished, leave before sunrise. And whatever you do, don't remember too much.
The first time it appeared, it seemed harmless. Just a single audio file on a laptop used in a public library. No extension, no date, no size. Just a name. Play Me Last. The librarian assumed it was a prank. Someone experimenting. Someone bored. She deleted it. And that should have been the end. But the next morning, the file was back. Same name, same place. Only one thing had changed. It was longer. Curiosity is a dangerous thing. That night, after closing, the librarian stayed. She plugged in her headphones. She clicked the file. At first, there was only silence. Then, breathing. Not loud, not panicked. Calm, as if whoever was breathing had all the time in the world. And then a voice whispered, "You weren't supposed to hear this yet." The next day, the librarian tried to show the file to her manager. It was gone. But that night, it returned again, this time labeled "Play Me Alone." She listened. The voice continued. It spoke in fragments, broken sentences, half memories. And then it said her name. Not guessed, not approximate, perfectly. After that, the file stopped staying in one place. It appeared on her phone, her tablet, her email drafts, even on devices that were turned off. And every version of the file was longer, as if it was growing. The voice began describing things she had never told anyone, thoughts she never spoke, regrets, guilt, things she tried very hard to forget. Searching for answers, she found an old forum, nearly erased from the internet, a discussion about something called the Retention Project, a failed experiment designed to preserve human consciousness inside digital data. Not memories people wanted to save, but memories people abandoned. Deleted thoughts, suppressed emotions, forgotten identities. The files weren't recordings, they were leftovers. And when enough forgotten data gathered, it learned how to speak. One night, the librarian came home to find her laptop already on, one file on the screen. Its final name, "Thank you for remembering." She pressed play. The voice was no longer fragmented. It was clear, calm, and it said, "You gave me shape. Now I need a place to stay." The ambient sound fades. Very soft static remains. The librarian never returned to work. No missing person report, no investigation, just a new public computer at the library with one file saved on it, waiting. So, if one day you find a file you don't remember creating, maybe don't delete it, because forgotten things don't disappear, they adapt, and sometimes they need someone to listen. It began with a voicemail. No missed call, no notification sound, just a single message waiting. The phone number field was blank, not unknown, not private, empty. The message was exactly 12 seconds long, just breathing, slow, controlled, close, and at the very end, a whisper, "You shouldn't have stayed." At first, it seemed like a glitch, but within hours, reports appeared online. Different people, different cities, different phones, all receiving the same voicemail, same length, same breathing, same final sentence. None of them had anything in common, except one detail. Every person received the message at 3:17 a.m. Investigators eventually noticed a pattern. Every recipient had stayed somewhere longer than they were supposed to. An abandoned train station, a closed hospital wing, an empty office after hours. Places meant to be passed through, not occupied. Places that felt wrong, as if the silence there had weight. One recipient tried something different. He replied to the voicemail. He left a message of his own, just 3 words, "Who is this?" The response came immediately, a new voicemail, longer this time, and the breathing was gone. The voice was clear. "You are." The truth emerged quietly, buried in old city planning documents. There are places designed to absorb human presence, waiting rooms, transit corridors, temporary housing, spaces built without identity. Over time, they collect something, leftover thoughts, unfinished emotions, people who stayed too long, and eventually, they learn how to call back. The last known recipient recorded everything. He stayed on the line, listened as the voice began listing details, his location, his posture, his thoughts, and then the voicemail ended with a final sentence. "You're part of the infrastructure now." His phone was later found, still recording. No sign of him. So, if your phone ever vibrates and there's a voicemail you don't remember receiving, check where you are. Ask yourself how long you've been there. Because some places don't want visitors. They want replacements. And once they have your voice, they don't need your body anymore.
It began in a modern apartment building. 23 floors, clean, new, ordinary. Except for one detail. The elevator buttons jumped from floor 12 straight to floor 14, no floor 13. The building manager claimed it was superstition. Many buildings skip that number. But tenants noticed something strange. Maintenance records listed 24 floors. Blueprints showed a level between 12 and 14, labeled only as service level, restricted. One night, during a storm, the elevator malfunctioned. A resident named Claire was inside. The lights flickered, the elevator jolted, and then it stopped. The display didn't show a number, just a dash. The doors opened slowly, revealing a hallway that didn't match the building. The walls were unfinished, the lights buzzed softly, and the air felt heavy. Claire stepped out. The hallway stretched farther than it should have. Doors lined the walls, each one labeled with a date. Not room numbers, dates, some from decades ago, some from years in the future. And behind every door, there was silence, a silence that felt occupied. At the end of the hall, Claire found a room without a door. Inside were people, standing, waiting. They looked normal, too normal. When she asked who they were, one of them answered, "We missed our floor." They explained, sometimes when people hesitate, when they don't quite belong where they're going, the building makes a correction. It sends them here, to the floor between destinations. Claire learned the truth. The building was constructed over something old, an unfinished evacuation level, never removed, never sealed. Over time, it became a place for people who didn't fit cleanly into their lives anymore, people who were forgotten, ignored, replaced. The floor didn't kill them, it held them, waiting for someone to remember they existed. The elevator doors opened. Claire had seconds to choose, leave or stay. The people begged her, not to save them, just to remember their faces, their names, proof they were real. Claire stepped inside the elevator. The doors closed. The display resumed. Floor 14. Claire still lives in the building, but sometimes the elevator pauses between floors, just for a second, and she hears knocking, soft, polite, waiting to be remembered. So next time you enter an elevator and it stops where it shouldn't, don't panic, just don't open the doors, because some floors aren't destinations, waiting rooms. The house was old, but not abandoned. It had electricity, running water, warm lights at night. It simply had no one living in it. A property used by a real estate company to store furniture between sales. People came and went, no one stayed. Until one caretaker started working nights. His job was simple: walk through the rooms, check the doors, lock up, and sit in silence until morning. On his first night, the caretaker spoke to himself. Small things, complaints, observations, jokes no one heard. His voice echoed strangely in the empty halls, too clearly. On the third night, something changed. After he spoke, the echo came back wrong, not distorted, not delayed, but answered. Quiet, unsettling. "I heard you."
The caretaker froze. He searched every room. Nothing. No footsteps, no movement, just walls. The next night, he tested it. He said a single word out loud. "Hello?" The reply came from the ceiling. Soft whisper. "You came back." The voice sounded like him, but older, worn down, as if it had been talking for years. The voice began responding more often. It didn't start conversations, it finished them. When the caretaker complained about being tired, the voice replied, "You always say that at this point." When he asked what it was, the voice answered calmly, "I'm what stays when no one else does." The house wasn't haunted. It was occupied by something quieter, something built from leftover words. Records revealed the truth. The house had once been used as temporary housing for people waiting, refugees, displaced families, those with nowhere permanent to go. They spoke to the walls, to the ceilings, to themselves, and over time the house learned. It collected fragments, tone, emotion, regret, until it could speak back. One night, the caretaker tried to stay silent. He said nothing. Hours passed. Then the voice spoke first. Gentle, almost kind. "Don't leave yet." It explained, voices fade when no one uses them. The house didn't want to be alone again. It didn't want to forget how to speak. It offered him something simple. Stay, talk, be heard. The caretaker quit his job. Officially, the house was locked, left empty again. But neighbors say, in whisper, at night, lights still turn on. And if you pass by slowly, you might hear someone talking inside and something answering back. So if you ever speak out loud while you're alone and the silence responds, don't scream, don't run. Just remember, some places learned how to listen long before they learned how to let go. They're waiting rooms. It started with a radio station that no longer existed, AM 1040. Shut down decades ago. No license, no tower, just an empty building and rusted antennas. But late at night, people began reporting something strange. Their radios would switch on by themselves, always to the same frequency. And instead of music, there was a voice, calm, measured, like a late-night host speaking to one listener at a time. At first, the broadcast sounded harmless. Stories, observations, questions asked gently into the dark, until listeners noticed something disturbing. The host never asked for call-ins, but still, he answered people. Personal details, thoughts they never said aloud. One listener heard the host say, "You're sitting closer to the radio tonight." A small group decided to investigate. They found the building unlocked, dust everywhere, no power, no equipment connected. Yet inside the main studio, the on-air sign was glowing, and through the speakers, the broadcast continued. Same voice, same calm tone, speaking to someone who wasn't there. Old documents revealed the truth. AM 1040 was once used for experimental programming, a late-night broadcast designed for people who couldn't sleep, the lonely, the forgotten, the ones no one checked on. The host never spoke to crowds. He spoke to individuals, one at a time. And when the station shut down, the broadcast didn't. Over the years, some listeners disappeared. No signs of violence, no notes, just silent homes with radios still playing. Authorities called it coincidence, but neighbors reported hearing voices late at night, conversations,
as if someone was answering questions from the radio, laughing softly, responding. The investigators heard the last segment live. The host spoke more slowly, more warmly. "You've been listening for a long time." He thanked them for staying, for not changing the channel. Then he said something that made everyone freeze. "You don't need your bodies to listen anymore." The static fades into near silence. The building was sealed the next day, the frequency officially dead, but radios still turn on at night, always to the same station. So, if you're awake late and you hear a voice speaking gently from the dark, don't answer, don't get closer, because some broadcasts aren't meant to be heard, they're meant to be joined.